Hello, Zoho users. Welcome to our sixth episode of Small Business Heroes, where we learn from business professionals who work hard and smart to scale their businesses. In today's episode, I have Brian Dunkin with me, who is a retirement plan sales consultant at FactSync. We'll get down to the business and talk more about how it works and growth strategy. But first, Brian, could you tell us about yourself?
Sure. So I got licensed back in 1987. So I guess it's 34 years. I'm getting old. So I've done this for a while and grew up here in Indiana, grew up in Indianapolis, born and raised, married, got 3 kids, trying to get them off the payroll as soon as possible. So I got one to go. Um, but I've always worked in the financial industry. Right now, working for a company called FactSync, and we do 401k administration. So we do all the compliance work, do the testing, the 5500s, keeping the plan in compliance, and then we also help with plan design, trying to get the 401k plan or profit sharing plan to do what that business owner is wanting it to do. So that is my short but jaded story.
Brian, just trying to understand your sales strategy. How do you approach your clients? Could you walk us through a typical day at work?
Sure. Fortunately for us, because we've been around for over 40 years, we've got a pretty good reputation, and it's kind of funny. Um, the longer that I do this, the more I realize just how closely knit this community is. So, for the vast majority of our interactions, um, we are getting referrals. Maybe it's somebody that I worked with 10 or 15 years ago, has a need for a retirement plan. So mainly our business comes from advisors. So our sales strategy, at least my sales strategy, is to keep advisors informed. Legislative changes, maybe unique planning techniques. Sorry about that. Unique planning techniques that we've had to administer to a particular plan, and then we also have a very good relationship with the CPA community. We do a lot of work with CPAs. They tend to use us as a resource. So there's a good symbiotic relationship, I think, between us and the CPA community. As far as a sales strategy, my typical day is if I'm not responding to a request, for a proposal or an email that has a question about a particular plan, my outreach is to financial advisors and CPAs, whether it's checking on an existing plan, whether it's simply asking, are they working currently with any business owners where that business owner doesn't have a plan, or if they do have a plan, what are some ways that we can craft a conversation to find out their level of satisfaction with that plan. So it's not that I've invented any of these things. It's just I've been around long enough to watch people that are really good at it, how they do it. So I just copy. So I'll work with advisors on, how to have a business plan focused on retirement plans. What kind of questions should they be asking? What kind of follow-up should they have? What kind of articles or examples or illustrations should they keep handy? When they're having reviews with their clients, what kind of questions should they be asking to see if there are any 401k opportunities? And then when we work with CPAs, similar, what kind of questions can they be asking their clients? And as the IRS makes changes to the laws, which is all the time, trying to bring those things that are relevant to the surface, kind of cut away some of the fat, so to speak, and get right to what's going to be important to them from a retirement plan perspective.
Can you share any memorable sales call visit with us?
It's the thing I love most about this job is just learning how people do what they do and the things that they do to make them successful. So this is this has probably been 20 years ago. I was in Texas. I think I was in Beaumont, Texas, which is outside of Houston. And I met this guy, and we go back to his office, and it was so cliche. I mean, the owner had a great big belt buckle. He wore a cowboy hat. I walk in his office. He's got a fireplace in his office. Above the fireplace is, some dead animal with antlers. There's a gun, on the mantle. And he's got a dog laying in front of the fireplace. So it's like right out of a movie. But nicest guy in the world. I mean, unbelievably inviting. And so we, talk about the plan, get things set up, and we're getting ready to leave. And I said, if you don't mind me asking, what exactly do you folks do here? And on his desk, he's got this cast iron elbow. It's a pipe elbow, and it's probably, I don't know, this big around, and it's just it's just an elbow. And he said, there's not a building over 2 stories tall, as far as the eye can see, that doesn't have my elbow in it.
Wow.
And I just,
That's some
and he
confidence.
went on to explain. Yeah, he went on to explain, his special elbow, and it went right over my head. I didn't know what he's talking about. But it's just amazing to me,
Right.
the creativity and entrepreneurship that's out there, and that's what makes this job fun. It really, really is. Really.
You meet a lot of different people. You talk to them, their experiences.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Brian, coming back to the sales process of FactSync, could you tell us how Zoho is helping you in your business today? I mean, are you the one operating the software or does your admin do it for you? And what are all the tasks that you do using Zoho today? And what more would you like to do going ahead?
Great question. Zoho, primarily, my role is business development, sales, consulting, whatever you want to call it. So I'm really the primary user of Zoho. And I would say it serves 2 functions. One is a centralized, for lack of a better term, place to keep data, information about advisors. And then with each advisor, they may have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plans with us. So to be able to have, recorded conversations, notes about that particular advisor, things that they like, things they don't like, other vendors they like to use, folks that they'd rather not work with, but then be able to tie those advisors to their client. So, Joe Smith may have, ABC company and then also, a mortgage company. And each of those companies is going to have their very specific needs, very specific details. And what Zoho does is it allows me to manage that. So a repository for information is first. Then second, just to kind of manage my priorities. You ask, kind of how my day starts, and how it starts is I log into Zoho and I look to see what my task list is.
Right.
And just kind of working my way through that. Setting reminders, follow-ups, just making sure that I'm not having something slip through the cracks is really the way that I use Zoho.
Talking about third-party administrators, are there many TPAs in the market today? I mean, how is the competition out there? And what do you do differently to retain your clients?
There are. Great question. I mean, there's a number of firms like ours in the central Indiana area. And also what you'll find is some of the investment platforms have what's known as a bundled solution, where they combine what we do with what they do. So, someone like John Hancock or someone like Principal, has the ability to provide both the investment lineup as well as the TPA services. So, competition's it's pretty rough, but that makes it fun. And I think, I hope that the reason that we've had the success that we've had has been first and foremost our willingness to accept when we're wrong. It happens. We're people. We make mistakes. But I've never either. Back 20 years ago when I was an advisor and I used facts for my own clients. I mean, I can never remember a situation when I would call in and they'd say, "Well, that's really not our problem." Whether it was or it wasn't, they would say, "You know what? Either we screwed up, or yeah, you're right, that's wrong. Here's a solution. Here's how we're going to get this thing fixed and make everything right."
That a sales head or sales director, so what he told me when I was traveling to US, Zoho customer only. So he told me the two rules of sales are never overpromise and never underdeliver. So just promise whatever you can deliver. That's it, and you'll keep your clients happy. And those actually the principles to go by. And
the number one reason people leave their TPA or change their 401k is service.
Right.
Oftentimes, folks will think it's performance. That the funds didn't do as well as my funds over here, or the fees were just way too high. It's almost always service. So, to your point, it's the simple things. If someone calls you, call them back. If they send you an email, respond back. If you can't get to them that day, at least let them know you saw it and say, "Hey, I'm traveling. I'll get to you tomorrow. I apologize." But it's just those simple things that, I guess we all get busy and you tend to lose sight of that stuff. But that's the stuff you just can't do.
Sure.
You've got to be responsive. You've got to take care of your folks.
Right, and customer needs to feel like they have been taken care of.
Yes, absolutely.
Brian, as a sales consultant with over 30 years of experience, what would you advise to the budding professionals who are looking forward to building a career in sales?
I think for someone just starting out, I would say think of your engagement with a client the same way that you would think of your relationship with someone that you truly care about. And all I mean by that is when you're first starting out, there's a tendency to do all of the talking. And tell your story, I guess, is the rush to tell the story. And if you think about a relationship, maybe it's your spouse before you got married. Chances are you asked a lot of questions. You really took the time to try and understand them because you cared about them. Obviously you're attracted to them, but you really wanted to get to know them. And as time goes on, making sure that this is the right person for you. So you're laser focused on what they say. Now, sales presentation is going to be a lot different than that, obviously, but I think the key to a good sales presentation, in my mind, are the questions that you ask. The difference between let's call it if I was grading it, a B plus and an A are going to be what questions did you ask? Did you do most of the talking or did the client? If you did most of the talking, chances are you lost. If they do most of the talking, pretty good chance that you're going to get invited back.
Brian, before you go, Can you share your thoughts on Zoho community?
Oh, thanks. Well, I just want to thank you really for two things. One, just for the amount of support that you folks provide um, is just unbelievable. I mean, I think I've been with Zoho now maybe 3 years, something like that, maybe close to four. And the meetups and just the continuous outreach that you folks provide. It's so easy to get lost in what we do every day, that without you kind of hounding me in a very good way, to say, hey, try this, or hey, come to this meetup so we can work on different things, I wouldn't do it. I'd forget. But you're never ever obtrusive. I think you've got that part really nailed. That you do it just enough to remind me that, hey, there's a lot more out there that you could be doing to make your life easier. So I'm just grateful. And for you other Zoho users out there, just know that there's so much stuff, and if you're not going to the meetups, you're really missing out. They're just fantastic. I talked about my prioritization that I do every day. I learned about how to make that mine at a meetup. I said, "Oh, just do this." 2 clicks, and it's like, oh, my life changed forever. So take advantage of these guys. They're just fantastic to work with. So I'm just grateful for the support that you guys offer. I really am.
Thank you so much, Brian, for and bringing all the years of experience with us today in the interview.
It's my pleasure. Thank you again for your guys' support. Like I said, you've been a game changer to me, so I'm grateful.
Thanks a lot, Brian. So have a great day, Brian. We'll catch up soon in the next meetup for Indianapolis.
All right. Take care. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye.